Okay guys, today I'm going to be talking about how sports help me absolutely dominate in sales, and specifically the skill sets and the lessons that I learned that transferred and allowed me to collect over 7 figures in cash in year 1, and how you can do this even if you don't own an amazing animal like Major here. So, this is my special guest today. This is Mr. Major Brown. Major is extremely special to me. I have so much love. I think I actually love this horse more than 99% of people. Oh, I know the flies are bothering you. And I got Major when I was 13 years old. And I'm turning 23, so I've had this horse for about 10 years. 10 years I've owned this horse, we have accomplished a lot together. Now, we have been to New York, we've been to California, we've competed all over Canada, Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta. He's been provincial champion. He's won countless events. I've got too many ribbons and trophies on my wall to count, and we qualified to represent Canada at the junior level. Now, I don't want to talk about the wins. What I want to talk about is the lessons and the traits that it taught me that allowed me to absolutely dominate in sales. Because when I came into sales in year 1, I collected over 7 figures in cash. I had an over 50% plus close rate. I invested well over $35K into my sales development, which people said I was crazy at the time. I broke 20K months at 22 years old, and I've sold for some of the biggest names in the space. And it's not a coincidence, because everything that I set my mind to and every goal I have, I accomplish and I win at a high level. I don't say that to brag or boast. I just simply say that because that's a fact, and I can take this from many different areas in my life. But today we're going to be talking about horses. Now, you don't need to own an amazing horse like Major. If you did, you might actually enjoy life a lot more, but I'm not telling you on horses today. What I am teaching you guys about is what's required to win. So, when I first got this horse, he was not like a world-class horse. If we go back 10 years ago, when I first got him, he was an untrained 10-year-old. And originally he was actually meant to be a family horse. So he was bought for myself, my dad, and my stepmother. And very quickly, he became my problem. Why did he become my problem, you might ask? Well, let me tell you this. He broke my stepmother's collarbone, and suddenly no one wanted to ride the horse, but we were still stuck with him. So he was actually a surprise for my 13th birthday. Surprise, you've got this problem horse and we don't know what to do. And we actually considered selling him because he was so difficult and so dangerous. And especially with riding, guys, like, it's not just like, oh, you fall off your skateboard and you scratch your elbow. I mean, like, I'm wearing full protective gear, because when I fall off, I'm falling from a distance and at speed onto a very hard ground. And for the first 2 years, this is what happened a lot, is there was a lot of falls. There was a lot of frustrations. There was a lot of, why does this horse not understand what I want it to do? And at 13, you don't understand that, and you just want to win. And to be taught patience at that age is a very frustrating thing, because it's not a sport where you just play 6 months of the year and then you're like, okay, horse, see you in spring. No, guys, you are riding every single day. Okay, maybe not every day. He does deserve a break as well. You're riding 6 days a week in the winter. And if you guys ever been to Canada, it is cold. It does get cold. Maybe not crazy cold in Vancouver, but it does get colder. The rainy days, right? The super hot sunny days, when you want to, when you don't want to, more often when I don't want to, is you still do the work. So I was showing up very consistently without winning at all for the first 2 years. Meanwhile, let me tell you this. What I'm watching is I'm watching my friends all win. I'm watching my friends absolutely excel and dominate the sport. So of course I'm thinking, I'm jealous, I'm looking at them, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I'm like, why is my horse not doing what I want it to do? The reason that they were excelling is because they were not riding a $2,000 donkey at the time. What they were doing is they were riding $90,000 schoolmasters. They were riding horses that had been produced by professionals. Meanwhile, I was learning through trial and error and falls again and again how to take something from nothing and actually create something. And it was a very frustrating process, and it was about 2 years in of this, where I'm crying after every ride, where I'm doing the inputs, but nothing's happening externally, guys. I want you to picture this. 2 years. 2 years, over 600 days of me showing up and not winning anything. Like, literally feeling like I'm actually getting worse while watching my friends get better. And then things started to click. And our partnership, I started to figure the horse out, and he started to understand me a little bit better. We went from the bottom of the sport to the top of the sport within 3 years. My friends that had these $90,000 schoolmasters, we were then beating them. Me and the big donkey here, we were beating them. And that taught me probably the most valuable lesson that I carry with today. And that is the importance of being consistent with your inputs before you see the external. And so let's talk about this in a sales sense, because when I came into sales, guys, I was not one of those girls that was like 20K first month, taking 2 calls in Bali. That was not me. I had to work my fucking ass off. And I had no idea when it was going to work. In fact, I really did question if I was cut out for sales for a long time because in the first couple months, guys, for the first 3 months, I didn't even crack 5K. So I want you guys to think about this. I've invested $18K into my sales training. I'm showing up. I'm role playing. I'm dedicating every waking hour. But why was I willing to do this? It's because of that lesson that I'd learned with this course. The importance of doing the inputs before you've seen the external. And it taught me the mindset of, it's not a matter of if I'm going to achieve my goal. I don't think if I'm going to achieve my goal, I will achieve any fucking goal I set my mind to. Why? Because I know if you show up long enough, for hard enough, you will achieve anything that you set your mind to. So what did I do? Even after I invested $18K, and I see so many sales reps where they're like, oh, I've invested in a sales training program, like, oh, I'm not sure. It's the same thing I did with this course, is I doubled down. I invested again. Why? Not that I wanted to invest 10K. Let me just tell you this, no one wants to invest 10K. What I did want, though, was my goal. And you cannot want a goal. You have to be willing to align your words and your actions. And I knew that I needed someone to help me get there because I still wasn't producing that level of results. So I needed to do something different, because literally the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. If you've been through some sort of course or program, the problem's not the course or the program, it's the lesson that you tied to that. It's now you settling in this situation, waiting for things to change without raising your hand and getting the actual help you need. So even after investing 18K, showing up for months, I still wasn't where I wanted to be. I doubled down. I invested not just one more time, 3 more times, over 35K that year. People literally were like, what the fuck? You are crazy. You are right. I am crazy, but it's also why I get crazy results. Within year 1, I'd collected over 7 figures in cash. I'd hit 20K months at 22 years old. And I was a top performer, guys. I went from being like very, very average, actually, I would say below average. I probably suck more than most of you watching this video right now, to being fucking lethal. Lethal. Absolutely lethal. At every offer I went on, I was one of the top performers. And this was accumulation of me just doing the inputs. Because the truth is many of you guys just like give up before you let the work on you. The work works on you as much as you work on it. And so what I like to think of is it's kind of like the compounding effect, right? Is in the beginning, the hardest part when you have a snowball is to get the snowball going. But once you start to have a little bit of momentum, it gets to the point where it's like nothing can stop it and get in its way. And it's the same thing with the inputs and the actions that you guys do right now. And I see so many people, right, where it's like, it's so easy, guys, that like, if I got this course and like we were winning off the time, do you not think I'd be motivated to go to the barn? Do you not think I'd be motivated to go and spend thousands of dollars into like my training with this course? Of course I would be, because I'm winning. It is easy to show up when you are winning. But my question is, how do you show up when things don't go your way? How do you show up when you're not producing the results you want? How do you show up when your close rate dips? How do you show up when you get even fired from an offer? What do you do then will tell me how far and how successful you will be ultimately in sales. Because it is your ability to double down, is your ability to do more, is ability to believe in yourself, to take the risk, even when things are not going your way, even when you haven't seen the external. And let me just tell you guys this, because honestly, the sales skills is the easy thing to learn. Like, I really do believe that. Like, I think anything in life, like skill-wise, like you can learn quite easily, but it's the mindset that you really need to develop. And even recently, right, like I invested oh my God, holy guys, I actually have a phobia of bugs, in case you didn't know. Fun fact, is last year I invested 35K. And something that I've learned is that every level there is a new devil, right? So it's the same thing that with this course, right? So when I first started with him, is we were competing across Canada and Alberta. And when I was 17, I moved out of my house. I moved out and I took the big donkey with me and I shipped him from here all the way to Ontario. Yes, you big donkey. Why? Because I wanted to get to the next level, and I knew that in order to get to the next level, I was going to have to do things that I had never done. I knew I was going to have to put myself around people that were at a higher level, because when you're number one, when you're the best at what you're currently doing, when you're a big fish in a small pond, there's no room to get better. I wanted to be a small fish in the big pond. And so I take him to Ontario, and I work for an Olympic rider over there, and I worked for her for 6 months, and we really were dialing things in. This is when we went to go compete in New York, and it was really fantastic, and I learned a ton. And it's the same thing that I had in sales, right? It was like, you know, the first kind of coaching program I went through, like, it was like basic, it was great, it introduced me to sales, you know, I landed my first offer because of it. You know, you make your first couple $1,000s, maybe it gets you, you know, just under 10. But oftentimes what gets you to your first 5 doesn't get you to 10. What gets you to 10 isn't what gets you to 20. And every level there's a new devil. It doesn't get easier. In fact, if anything, it gets harder, right? It gets harder to get to the next level, right? That fear is always going to be here. Every time you guys invest, every time you guys do something new, the fear is always going to be there. Problem's never fear. Problem is your relationship with it. The best piece of advice I can ever say is that when you feel that fear, to follow it. Every fucking thing that you guys want to achieve in this lifetime is on the other side of your fears. And there's always a reason not to do something, guys, right? There's always limitations. There's always excuses. There's always something we can buy into. Oh, but Emma, you don't understand, like, I'm just on the right offer, so I'm just going to wait. Oh, you know, like, it's been a bit slower. The leads are tight. I'm going to wait. You know, money's not great right now. Oh, you know, it's busy. That's fine. You can buy into your own beliefs. I don't buy into mine. And that's why I'm sitting here recording this video. That's why I've run marathons, and I'm doing an Ironman, and I've competed and qualified to represent Canada, and I'm an elite sales performer, is because I don't buy into my beliefs. There is no excuse. All excuses are made equal. That's one of my favorite sayings. All excuses are made equal. And that is so true, guys. And even this year in 2026 I could have to make 20K at 22 years old is an achievement. Like, it genuinely puts me in, I think, like, the top 1%. That a lot of people are like happy, they're cruising, they're going to spend the next like 5 years doing that. To me, I wasn't happy there. I wasn't content. I wanted to get to the next level. And I knew that I needed to work with people that had been in my position. So what have I done? Is this year alone, I've invested over 85K. Just listen to that number, 85K. Y'all are stressing about a 2 to 5K program that you fucking paid for, and you think that this is going to be the last thing you ever invest in. Sure, if you want to stay where you are. The truth is, personal development, there's always a next level. 85K this year, motherfuckers. I've worked with 8-figure CEOs. I've worked on leadership. I've worked on management. I've worked on refining myself and am building the person I need to become. Because the truth is when you can build that person, you will achieve your goals. And the habits, beliefs, the mindsets, actions you have right now is what has created your current reality. So if you want to change, you need to change that. And when you change that, eventually reality will then reflect it. And so, to summarize, I hope that this video was helpful, because it is honestly one of the biggest reasons that has allowed me to be so successful in sales. And not just for myself, but I've coached countless women. This is what I do, guys, is I coach winners. What do? I coach winners. I create and I produce absolutely top savage female reps. Like Saskia. Saskia made $30,000 last month. Shreya just hit her fucking highest month in commissions. When Shreya came to me, guys, she was making less than $5,000 a month. Already had invested in sales training programs. Now she just hit her first 16K. Hannah started with me literally 30 days ago. She was at the point, she'd invested in someone else. Is this going to work for me? I don't know. She wasn't making the money she wanted, closing at 20%. Now she's closing more consistently than she's ever been, and she's pacing for her first 10K month. And I don't say this as in any way to flex on you guys, just to show you guys what is possible when you remove your limitations, when you actually bet on yourself, when you do what is required to win. And when you do that is when you're going to see yourself on the top of the leaderboard, when you guys are going to be number one of your offers, and when you guys become absolutely dangerous. And when you become dangerous, that's when you make more money you've ever made. And that is when you double your close rate, double your commissions, and change your fucking life. Now, if that's something you're interested in, if you're not a whiner, a complainer, you don't have a victim mindset of why is this so hard, life's so hard, everything like that, you are interested in working with me on a more personalized level, get my eyes on your calls, your mindset, actually what the gap is, where you are today, where you want to be, cool. My Calendly link is below. You can literally just book in a call. You actually are going to be speaking directly with me. And yeah, I look forward to it, and I hope this video was helpful. Peace out, girls.